It would seem as though.
Oh my goodness, it would seem as though it is Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Colonizer Day.
Mm-hmm.
And we are back for another episode of It Would Seem As Though, the podcast where we talk about anything, everything, and nothing.
Mostly nothing.
Nothing. I'm Vesta.
I'm Annika. I'm eating a Snickers. I'm really sorry.
Are you really sorry?
No.
I don't think you are.
Mm-mm.
I have a feeling you're really not.
Mm-mm.
I mean, besides you gotta, get your sugar kind of levels up for tomorrow when all the crap happens. It's really funny because we've talked about how neither one of us give a shit about Thanksgiving.
Not even a little.
Because it is just,
bullshit.
Colonizer holiday to celebrate the destruction of this country.
And listen, this is what I'll say. I like getting together with people I love, and I love eating food with people I love. I mean, I love, that's what I like. But I don't think that we do that all the time.
Right.
We get together all the time and eat food and love each other. So I don't think that...
That is very true. And our topic today is food.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is appropriate that that's all happening. I know people ask me all the time, well, do you have big plans for Thanksgiving? No.
Mm-mm.
My plan until a couple weeks ago was we would do our normal Wednesday night family dinner like we do every Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
And then on Thursday, we would just kind of hang out, maybe go to a movie, just relax and chill. Because I don't care about the Norman Rockwell, Thanksgiving with the giant turkey that is half-wasted and the buckets of stuffing or dressing, depending on where you're from, and all the sides and whatnot. I don't care.
Mm-mm. I love food, bitch.
I'm like, I didn't become a big old bitch this size because I didn't love food.
No, right?
But I don't care about the traditions.
No, man.
I don't give a shit about that. Well, and then a couple weeks ago, I dropped a little text to my favorite cousin Amy, and I was all, hey, Amy, am I going to see you at all for the holidays? Because she and her family trade, they'll do Thanksgiving here and then Christmas up in Walla Walla with her in-laws, or vice versa. Mm-hmm. And so this happens to be a Thanksgiving here, Christmas there year. And she's like, oh yeah, I keep meaning to text you to see if you guys want to come over on Thanksgiving. And so we'll be going there tomorrow and eating all the things.
All the food.
But I can guarantee you it won't be traditional. Mm-mm. Although last year, what did she have? 4 different potato dishes.
I know.
I mean, there was so much potatoes that I think that, Idaho was all, where are our potatoes go?
I know. It was the potato famine all over again.
It was so
Honestly.
much. And Justin, her husband, always makes amazing stuff in his little Traeger. He's one of those guys who has his barbecue, it's smoker. A smoker, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny to me because most guys who have them do a thing.
Yeah, right.
They have, they make steak on their barbecue. Well, oh my God, this man, he makes candied bacon.
Oh my God, girl.
That shit is crack.
Oh my God.
It is crack cocaine.
Crack cocaine, yes.
It is. It's I have one piece and then it's all over.
And then it's
gone.
Mean,
it's then the plate is gone and I've probably eaten the paper plate. It was
girl, all of it. Yeah.
I'm all, was there wax paper underneath this? I don't even know anymore. I'm like a goat suddenly and I've eaten.
You're burning your hands trying to get the crumbs off the smoker, bitch. I get you. That shit is...
licking the smoker.
Yeah, it is so good. But this is why I love going to their house, because... there's always food. First of all, there's always good food because everybody who's at the house like to eat. You know what I mean? And then we show up and we like to eat. And so there's food on food and it is always scrumptious. I'm always happy to be there. I know.
So a couple years ago, it was very funny because their son, who just started his freshman year of college this year, says to me, goes, so did you ever hear what happened to last year's ham? And I was like, other than we ate it?
Yeah, what you mean?
And he's like, oh, Dad dropped it on the way in. He dropped it on the deck. And I was like, okay. Mm-hmm. How am I going to feel about a ham I ate a year ago? I didn't die. Because as my sister Linda would say, but did you die? I did not. And it was delicious. So from that point, I referred to that ham as the cedar plank smoked ham.
Yeah, cedar plank.
But it was I know that you were trying to do a gotcha to me because, you ate ham that landed on the ground. Bitch, please.
Yeah.
I am a fat girl from the jump.
Yeah.
I have eaten things that have been on the floor before.
Do you know what we put in our mouth?
Come on. Do you honestly think I drop something and I don't pick it up and eat it? I do.
Girl, I don't care.
Unless it's toast that lands butter side down.
Yeah, there are things.
There are things I won't eat.
Right.
But come on. You know I ate that ham. I ate the shit about that ham. And then I felt horrible because I ate so much of that ham.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
You know, I don't care.
Girl, I don't give a fuck.
I probably had a little extra crunch because a little stuff from the deck.
Yeah.
I don't care.
And guess what?
I
Immune
live.
system.
Right.
You got an immune system.
Oh my god. So I this is off topic, but I just want to share it because I think it's so funny.
Okay.
When my daughter was little, she was crawling still.
Okay.
We had gone out to visit my mother before, obviously before she lived here, but went to visit her, and my daughter's crawling all around on the floor. And my mother had like 457 cats.
Roughly.
And so, but she, cleaned everything all up before everybody came to visit.
Sure.
And there was a basket of cat toys under the table. And my nephew's wife said, he's like, "Oh my God, Vesta, she's over there with a cat toy in her mouth." And I was like, "Oh no, is it one small enough she can choke on?" She's like, "No." And I go, okay, what's the problem?"
I know.
Well, she has a cat toy in her mouth.
I don't give a shit.
If it's not small enough that she's going to choke on it.
I don't give a fuck.
And she was horrified. And it was like, my daughter will not have cat allergies.
No.
I mean, if it's gross, she'll spit it back out.
And like,
who
honestly,
cares?
Honestly,
she's chewing on a cat toy. The cats chew on them, and they're fine. So those are not the things that bother me.
No, and like, here's the thing.
If she was in the cat box chewing on poop, I'd be upset.
I've been like, girl, no. Well, listen, growing
That
up
is
in the,
not almond roca.
don't
Get
do
out there.
that. No, stop. But when we grew up in the country, girl, we grew up poor people in the country. Do you know
right?
what? Bitch,
You right.
Do you know what? And like, not to sound like weird or vulgar, but like, do you know the things we put in our mouth? Like, and again, just we were poor people in the country. Like, things happen.
Right, you're not even talking sexy time.
No,
You're talking
girl,
food time.
sexy
There's
time.
some things we put in our mouth. That I
Girl.
was like, I'm not necessarily proud of it. Well, growing up, yes, very poor.
Yeah.
And my stepfather considered himself to be like the great hunter.
Yeah.
And it was like, ugh. So he'd go out and, shoot whatever, nutria. By the way, do y'all know what a nutria is? It's a giant water rat.
Yeah.
He shot and brought home and skinned and cooked a giant water rat.
Did you eat it?
Yep.
Oh my god, was it delightful?
No,
Was it everything
it was
you've ever
terrible.
wanted in gamey rat meat?
raccoon.
Bitch, what?
Yes, I was like we were the Beverly Hillbillies without the money,
Without the Beverly
or the
bitch.
cement pond.
I'm dead.
I mean, we were just poor, and it was like, well, it's food. So I think my favorite of his nonsense was when he brought home. He bagged an elk, and elk are
Bagged it.
fucking huge,
Uh-huh.
huge,
Uh-huh.
huge. And so he brings home this elk. Puts it on the dining room table, this full-ass grown elk. The whole table just collapsed. It was like, well, that table's done.
That man.
That table is done.
That man.
Ooh, my mother
Isn't
was
he
pissed.
also the one who, for a gift, gave you a kinkajou?
Yes. Yeah, same guy. Well,
Bitch, that is
No.
so comical to me.
I
can't
was,
believe that.
because I think every 5-year-old should have a nocturnal wild animal as a pet who is not at all domesticated.
No, right.
Right.
Uh-huh.
He won it in a poker game. And it just so happened, like, the day after the poker game was my birthday. And he's all, oh, I won this animal. What? An animal that I could not touch because it was a wild animal. And it was fucking nocturnal. So during the day, it was asleep. And then one day, much to my chagrin, it escaped. And never to be seen. I didn't know until years later that it just died.
Oh, okay.
I think one day it went night-night and didn't wake up.
Yeah, it was like,
and my mother was like, I don't know what happened. It escaped. It got out and well...
Didn't it, like, drink the booze one time, too?
I don't know.
Because it likes sugar, right?
Well, its name was Sugar.
Oh.
No, its name was Honey. Its name was Honey.
Because don't kinkajous like sugar?
They do.
Yeah. Because I thought there was a story about it drinking
Now that I don't know.
the booze.
I don't know.
Okay.
Drinking the booze.
Drinking the
Where
booze.
on earth would it find booze? Just because my stepfather was a raging alcoholic. But
Look, that guy's my grandfather.
he made such great choices all the time. But yes, and I know we just traveled all this little
Food, girl. We're talking about food.
We're talking about food. We're talking about tomorrow being Thanksgiving. We're talking about all the things we're going to eat. But before we get there, I want to talk about a couple things. Something that I'm sure you probably already know about, and if you don't know about it, you're going to be excited about it. On December 13, on Hulu, the show Kindred is starting.
Girl.
So, and I know we've talked about Kindred
Girl.
because you read the book.
Yes.
Octavia Butler.
Yes.
And it's about this woman, this
God.
black woman, for who's modern times, but somehow ends up time traveling back and forth to, isn't it like slave times?
Like antebellum South.
Antebellum South. So how scary and traumatic is that? Well, they've made it into a series on Hulu.
Well, okay, so I have read and loved this, right?
Yes.
This book is one of my favorite books. And I've said it again, and I just like met somebody and told them to buy a book, and they did, of Octavia Butler. Everyone should read her work. It's amazing. But this book is fucking credible, and she's a black woman in present time married to a white man, and then she gets transported back to antebellum South, and the person she meets is her ancestor, her slave-owning ancestor.
Okay.
And so then it's that. And it's her trials and tribulations of trying to get home and what that means. And
Now, didn't they make a movie of this? I don't think they called it Kindred.
maybe.
But there was a movie, because I remember seeing it, and it was, I just blanked on her name, Janelle Monáe.
Okay, different.
Different.
So-
because all I saw was the previews, and I saw her, like, 1 minute, she's, airplane flying overhead, normal time, and then the next minute she's in a cotton field.
So, right, and that was the draw, right? Because for that movie, everyone thought that there was going to be a time travel or something. But what it really was there was just a lot of acreage, and people owned essentially a plantation and were kidnapping black people.
Oh.
And holding them as slaves in modern time. Because at one point you see her like sprinting, and then she starts to see vehicles and like cop cars and shit. And she's like...
So she thought she time traveled. But
She
this
sure did.
one, Kindred, is actually about
She
a woman
actually does.
who is going back. Now, is she going back and forth, or does she just go back there?
She goes back and forth. And it's like, there isn't like a reason or... Kind of, but there isn't. She can't figure it out, like why she's going back and forth. But it's intense. I mean, it's fucking intense, and it's amazing. And you get to see how the dichotomy between being a person, a black woman specifically, living in modern United States, being educated and free and independent, and being able, and you're married to a white man, and then going back into the antebellum South and being a black woman in the antebellum South, and what that meant for you. And how you have
How terrifying.
Right, and how you have all of this knowledge. You have historical knowledge that hasn't happened yet. You know what's going to happen. For a lot of it.
Right, you know how it all shakes down.
And girl, you get to live as an enslaved person to like your ancestor.
Wow.
Rough, girl. I hope the movie or the show.
Yeah, it'll be a show.
I hope that it is good, and I hope it does it justice, because it is an incredible book. And it's rough to read in some parts, but it's really good. It's easy to read, so I think read it. If you have a Kindle,
Octavia
go buy
Butler.
it. Octavia Butler. Listen to the audiobook, whatever. She is amazing. Kindred. It's so, so good.
Okay. So that was the only side little thing I wanted to talk about that wasn't food related.
Okay.
One of the other things I wanted to mention is there is an author, and he's a queer food blogger named Esteban Castillo. Just put out a book. He has 2 books now. One is called Chicano Eats, and one is his new cookbook is called Chicano Bakes. And it's specifically about Mexican heritage cooking and baking.
Yeah.
And because he, during the pandemic, started he is a food blogger, like I said, but he started a YouTube channel where he was cooking. Because what else are you going to do in the pandemic? Everything was shut down. So he started baking, and he started calling his mom saying, "Hey mom, how do I make, pozole or whatever?"
Yeah.
And mom was like, "Well, you do this." But she's the kind of cook, because she's been doing it her whole life, that it's like, well, you just grab a bit of this and a dab of that and a little bit of...
Of course. Wine measure.
And so he got into the more chemistry side of things, where he's like, well, why do you add this thing? What does that do? Like, why do you add vinegar to a very rich sauce? Well, it balances it out, and it makes it so it's not so rich.
Okay. Yeah,
different things. So he went into really investigating why you add what you add, and then going by the book, because at least the first couple of times you need to know like how to do it properly.
Yeah.
And then you can reach out and do it a different way. So just wanted to throw that out there, a little support, because A, queer,
Yep.
B, Chicano, and C is we're talking about food. And so Chicano bakes. I've been really getting more into cooking and baking and whatever in the last couple of years. So I thought that would be fun. Try out something new.
Yeah. There is something that I think that we should talk about. That is not a light subject.
Uh-oh. Okay.
It is in the news. It is heavy. It just happened. So November 19th, 20th, days ago, 2 days ago, yesterday, 3 days ago, there was that mass shooting at Club Q in Colorado Springs, Colorado.
Oh, yeah, I haven't heard about this.
Okay. Where a 22-year-old man, Anderson Lee Aldrich, walked in, and the owner said he walked in with, like, immense firepower, gunpower. And he just started to open fire on the patrons of the queer club. And he killed, 5 people were killed, and 25 people were injured, and 19 of them were injured by gunfire. He has been under fire before because he called in, like, a bomb threat before to things. He's a very, I don't know anything about him. I tried to, like, look it up really quick about things about why he did or whatever, but I think we can assume why. Here's an irritating fact, though, is that, his defense attorney is being like, he's non-binary, so they're trying to say that it wasn't, like, a queer-related incident, and he just was going to shoot up a queer club.
How is that a defense?
I know. So, it is pretty, like, after the Pulse shooting.
Yes.
And after, everything the last few years with, like, social change and all of, like, the strife that the public has gone through to, still, there's a pandemic, still, there's shit going on in the world that is, like, fucking shit up, still Roe vs. Wade, you know what I mean? Still all the things, and this 22-year-old boy walked into a club and opened fire.
I did read a little something, so I didn't know what the context was. I read something this morning saying how the owners of the club, or the people in the club, were what stopped him. It wasn't the police. It was the people in the club.
Yep.
So, do you know anything about that?
I don't. I read, like I said, I was just trying to look up the facts more briefly right now, but there is.
Is he dead?
I don't think so. I don't think so. No, because it says 36 minutes ago, CNN posted that the suspect in the shooting, the guy who shot all these people, was slated to appear in court today. So he's still alive. But yeah, it was, and if you go on CNN, it says what we know about the suspect in the Colorado Springs LGBTQ nightclub shooting, that headline, and it tells you what you know, like what you need to know. And so, there's quotes from the people who took him down. There's quotes from other patrons.
Okay.
But I think that it's important to talk about this, right?
It is, and I'm so sick of this shit.
Yeah.
I'm so sick of every time this kind of thing happens, and then some reporter or somebody will go to politicians and say, what are you going to do? This is not the time to talk about it. Everyone's very emotional. This isn't the time. Well, when the fuck is the time to talk about it, and what are you going to do about it? And I remember specifically watching a news briefing, and this reporter from the UK stood up and asked Marjorie Taylor Greene, who, is an asshat, asked her, what was going to be done, because in the UK, once they made a rule banning semi-automatic weapons, mass shootings don't happen.
Right.
And Marjorie Taylor Greene's response was, well, mass stabbings happen. Well, they fucking don't, you asshat. And then when the girl tried to press her further, she goes, well, just go back to the UK where it's all safe and you're fine. Well, that's your answer? Your answer is not, we will do anything to deal with it, because we don't want to piss off the NRA. We don't want to piss off the gun owners who keep being told someone's coming for your guns. Nobody's fucking coming for your guns. But you shouldn't have semi-automatic. You shouldn't have those kind of weapons. They're weapons of war. They are not things people should own.
Yep, I just had this conversation last night where I was like, look, I don't have an issue with firearms.
No.
I have an issue with assault rifles. If you have a pistol, girl, do it. I know plenty of people who do. You know what I mean? If you go hunting, fine. If you have a shotgun, fine. Like, none of these things are gonna go and murder multiple people at one fucking time. Like, what matters is when you have an assault rifle that can shoot 30 rounds in a fucking second, like, that is, at least, you could kill at least 30 people. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you're gonna kill somebody, and multiple people.
Right,
And that's
without
the
even
only
trying.
reason. And people have this stupid fucking asinine idea that you need the guns in case the government's gonna come take over. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? You're gonna form a militia? And again, I will always say it, if you think that the government's gonna come take over and whatever, and let's say it does happen, and all you have are guns, and all you know about is how to shoot, you don't know how to, like, sew up a wound, you don't know how to disinfect, you don't know how to, like, you don't know how to do anything else,
Right.
all you know how to do is shoot a gun,
Yeah.
you're fucking
You don't
useless.
know how to grow your own food.
Baby, I could give a 12-year-old a gun and tell them to point and shoot. Do you know what I mean? Especially if it was an automatic rifle. Like, that's the fucking problem, right? It's
Right,
too
exactly.
easy. It's too accessible. So don't act like, ooh, if the government was going to show up. Do you know what the government has? Bitch, do you know what the government has? If they wanted to take you out, they would take you out.
They would take you out. Well, and the other thing is, what is the problem with background checks? What is the problem with the waiting period? If there is common sense rules, why is there not a test? Why is there not insurance?
Mm-hmm.
We have to have that for a car.
Yep.
Why not a gun?
Exactly.
Why, and who's it harm if we do? You know, it's not taking away your freedom to bear arms.
Right.
Or,
And that's it. It's our rights. But it's my right to bear it, so I shouldn't have to wait, and I shouldn't have to have these restrictions. But yes, you
I'm
should.
sorry, but if you're a felon, you can't have you aren't
Well-
supposed to have a gun. If you are a felon, you're not allowed to vote.
Mm-hmm.
But if you beat your wife, you can still go buy a gun.
Yeah.
If you are cuckoo crazy and are like plotting to, you can go buy a gun because no one can do a background check. No, bullshit.
No,
bullshit. There should be full background checks. There should be
100%.
full waiting periods. They should check and go, oh, I'm sorry, you're an I've already offended several times.
Mm-hmm.
You have a history of abuse. You don't get a gun.
Right. And I think we should start there, do full background checks, but that also means that all of these other agencies have to fucking communicate. There needs to be, like, a homogenized, one form of, like, here are your records, because I think that would be helpful. Granted, that's, like, a lot of work and information and crossover.
Well, it is. But how easy it is now. How easy is it now? Bosses will go, like, you're applying for a new job, they will go look at your social media. Mm-hmm. And if you are cuckoo crazy on social media, they're going to be like, oh, no, thank you.
No, ma'am. Yeah.
How hard is it if someone applies for a job, applies for a gun? You just go look at they're talking about killing people. Let's not give them a gun.
Yeah,
they're talking about
weird.
blowing up this school. Let's not give them a gun.
Yeah, it's weird to me. It's weird to me. I just don't.
And people are like, oh, it's my right, or well, you're getting into my private. Good. Mm-hmm. Good. Because this is a thing that has been happening now for so long, and no one has done a fucking thing.
Nope.
Not a thing. And we just passed a law here to make it a little tiny itty bit more challenging to get a gun. But it's not enough.
No, but
none of it's enough.
People are pissed because I remember living in LA. And when I lived in LA, I dated a Marine, right? Good for me. But all of his friends were all about that, like gun going shooting. So like I've shot an assault rifle, right? I've done these things at shooting ranges and whatever. But like they would always want to come to Oregon and buy guns because there was no waiting period, because they didn't like background check you, because it was easy. In California,
right.
It was different. And I used to think, what? That's so fucking weird to me.
That is weird.
I know. And like why you feel like you need not only multiple guns, but you need multiple assault rifles. I'm like, I don't want to live in a world where people are that fucking paranoid. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think you should be cautious, but I think there's a difference.
There is a difference. There's absolutely a difference. Mm-hmm. And the other thing I was going to say, because, when you brought up Pulse Nightclub, Pulse Nightclub never recovered.
No.
It never reopened. It's like because there were so many people killed there, and there was so much trauma that the owners didn't feel like they could reopen.
Yeah.
And I'm sure people weren't coming back anyway, and I know for a fact there were a couple queens who were performing there who that was the end of their career because they were like, I'm not going on stage anymore. I somehow managed to live through this. I'm not going to put myself out there and be a sitting duck for some crazy. Which to me is tragic. And every single year when I go to Pride and host Pride, I'm always in the back of my mind going, if I'm right out here in the, you could be up on top of one of those buildings and just shoot me like that, be gone.
It's true.
And there's enough fucking crazies in the world that how easy would it be for some asshat to get up in the middle of Pride because you have so many people in such a tight space.
Yep.
You know, that's the kind of thing that scares me to death.
Yeah. Well,
and the fact that nobody's doing anything about it.
No. And I think about, I don't know, it's just it's a group of marginalized people. Here's what it feels like to me is when white supremacists want to blow up or shoot up like black churches. You're going into a place where there's like concentrated marginalized people and you're opening fire. You go into a queer nightclub. You're walking into an area that is full of marginalized people who are already oppressed, who already feel the strife of the world and socially and politically, and you walk into the place that it could be home. You walk into the place that could be like their safe haven.
Yeah.
That could be the place where they get to have respite and can breathe and be themselves. And you walk in and you ruin that for the rest of their lives.
Right, because there are so few places where I think queer people in general feel like they can just exhale.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, we're here, we're with all of these other queer people. No one is, you know, going to harm me in this space. Well, not true.
No, and it's not true.
And that is terrible.
And that is, it's upsetting. And it's important to know that, I know that we're talking about food, but I think this is like...
Well, no, it's very important.
People should know, like, and this is minor. No, it's not. But, like, for 70 years in the United States, right, there were the laws of, like, you could not cross-dress, essentially. You could not wear garments of the opposite gender, or you could be fined or imprisoned, right?
Yeah.
And that's how we got to Stonewall, right? And so things like that point out, give you legal guideline to show you the oppression of queer people, show you the oppression of trans people, and to see that it's like 2022 and we're like so far past that, and Stonewall was how long ago?
1969.
So we're so far past that, and there's been so much progress, and there's like visibility and inclusion, and there's good happening in the world, and then days before what's supposed to be a holiday of giving thanks and being grateful and being happy, this person decides to like take that away from these people and their people, and you shook the queer community. Like, that's what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
And queer people will always come back. Queer people will always come back. We will find another place to go.
Well, and that's the other thing, though, is that as these kind of things happen, it becomes increased as the queer community is given more and more of the rights that they should have had all along. It's like, so then the other folk who are threatened by the queer community get angrier and angrier, because it's like, well, how come they shouldn't have any rights? Well, as humans, they should have the same rights you have.
Right. And,
you know.
And I think in times like this, it's, there's people who, like, you don't want to be as vocal. You don't want to be out. You know what I mean? You don't want to hold the hand of your partner. You don't want to do these things because it immediately makes you feel targeted. But like, do it. You know what I mean? Like,
that's just it. Because the whole thing is to make people afraid, to make people go back into the closet, or to make people go into hiding, or to just make people shrink, so they become less.
And you can't.
And you can't. And which is why every year when I said, every year I'm afraid, but every year I go.
Yes.
Because I can't not go.
I can't not go. Exactly. Right?
Although the year of the Pulse nightclub, I was like, I am not taking my children to Pride.
No, I got that.
Because I was so afraid that I was just like, what if some lunatic just comes and opens fire on the proceedings? My children are there.
Yep, absolutely not.
And so I have relaxed that. I mean, obviously they went this year and have gone several times.
Yeah.
And I think that was the only year they missed, but it was just too fresh.
Yeah, it's too much. And but you still have to like live. If you hide, if you go back in the closet, if you deny who you are, or you butch up, or you don't act, if you're not true to yourself, then they're winning anyway.
Yes.
And here's the thing, I've always said, in times of my life I've been afraid, for different reasons, but like when I moved to San Francisco and people were nervous for me or whatever, I was like, I could die at any moment. I could die crossing the fucking street. Someone could decide to just kill me for no reason, but I can't not live my life and take what this life has to offer and be afraid. Like I need to be able to live my life no matter if there's fear. And that's where as a queer person, learning to, like, sit in the discomfort of just existing in a world that doesn't want you to fucking exist. And so, like, learning to sit and be uncomfortable, it's, like, okay. But, like, we don't get to, like, go back. Everyone else, like, wants you to go back. The Supreme Court wants you to go back.
Yes.
But, like, we don't... People didn't fight, didn't throw bricks at fucking cops for us to go back. And so...
You know, and I think about other people's journeys. My friends. Mm-hmm. Like, one of my friends whose mother actually said to her, I didn't raise you for you to become a lesbian.
Okay.
Well, then what? So you should off me now? Mm-hmm. Is it that whole I brought you into the world, I'll take you back out kind of thing? What kind of a statement is that? Well, nobody raises their child to be whatever sexual identity they are, because it's like no one raises your kids to be straight either. They just are or they aren't.
Yep.
I mean, maybe you're hoping that they are.
Well,
but...
I mean, people say weird shit, though. Like, he's going to be a heartbreaker, a lady killer, and she's, like, 3 years old.
Yeah,
it's fucking
gross.
weird to me.
It's gross.
Anyway.
But, yeah. So, I'm horrified to hear that I'm not surprised, which is the saddest part of that. I'm not surprised.
I know.
And, you know, it's like, for these people who were killed, these 5 people, obviously, their lives are cut short, but I always think of their families. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like having to live with it. I think about the Sandy Hook families.
Yep.
You know, and I can't get into that too deep because I will just get emotional and start to cry.
Or it was a high school a few years ago, remember?
Yeah.
That one.
Or Uvalde
in Texas?
Was that just a couple months ago?
Yeah.
You know, all of these places where this shit happens again and again and again and again, and still our politicians are like, well, thoughts and prayers. Fuck your thoughts and prayers.
Yeah.
They do nothing.
They do nothing.
Because this God that you think is going to change stuff, if this God existed, he's not trying to micromanage your bullshit. Figure it out, people.
And also, if this God exists and you think he's watching us and he has the power to do better, he's just cruel.
And he's an asshole.
He's just like a cruel man.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah.
Actually, yes. All right,
so food. Let's get to food. I am on the verge of crying.
So there was one more thing, but just food related.
Okay, cool. Love it.
But it's also race related because it was that Aunt Jemima has finally changed the logo and the name, which Aunt Jemima is owned by PepsiCo, which owns Quaker. Mm. Okay, and so they have changed the name after 131 years to the Pearl Milling Company, which is actually where it was founded. Okay. 131 years ago, it was founded at the Pearl Milling Company. And PepsiCo, after many, many years of being like, you know, we don't want to hear this, we're not doing anything about it, blah, 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 they finally admitted that the image on all of the stuff, which had been updated, but the image and the name and all of that was deeply rooted in racism and slavery and stereotypes and tropes and whatever. Aunt Jemima is supposed to be like a mammy.
I was going to say, she's exactly the caricature of a mammy, yes.
And this particular one was taken from minstrel shows. Now, there are people, of course, who are real mad about it, that they've changed it.
Oh, fuck.
Some of the people are black people who are like, well, you're erasing the heritage of the woman who started this. Well, Nancy Green is the woman who originally appeared in all of the imagery. Okay. Nancy Green was a former slave. Mm-hmm. Nancy Green had nothing to do with the starting of the company. She was just an actress, model, person that they hired to be the face of this image. Did she make a lot of money off it? No, because she actually died a pauper in an unmarked grave.
Oh, God.
And it was just recently that this woman, and I've now blanked on her name, I didn't write it down, her name was Carrie something, but I don't remember. Anyway, she's done years of research on Nancy Green, found her grave, tried to get PepsiCo to give her a headstone, and they were like, no. And so she did a little fundraiser and got her a headstone. But the people who believe that Aunt Jemima was a real person and this was this, we're mad about successful black women. No. Mm-mm. No, it was a white man who owned this company, who started this, and put this woman's picture on the box and on the bottles and whatnot, because at that time it was comforting for white people to go, oh, I'm going to have, some flapjacks like my mammy used to make me, or like my house servant used to make me, or whatever she was, because, the white lady didn't know how to cook. And so it has finally changed, thank goodness. But
good.
Do a little research, and it's really easy to find out that all of the women through time, and there have been 4 different women who've been used for imagery on their stuff, are just actresses, just models, just women who they took their picture, they paid them some,
measly amount,
and said, okay, you're the new face of Aunt Jemima, as we're getting it to be farther and farther away from the mammy image. But at the base of it is still called Aunt Jemima, who was a caricature from the minstrel show. So you never got too far away from it.
No.
So I applaud them for,
Agreed.
Finally doing something right.
Let me tell you, when people... I mean, this took for fucking ever. When people hear that something is offensive and then just change it, the Dixie Chicks, now just the Chicks.
Right.
Dixieland, right? Isn't that just Dollyland?
Dollywood is Dollywood.
Yeah, okay. There's something Dixie.
Yeah,
right?
there's a couple other things. There's the Dixieland Trail.
Okay.
There's a couple other things. One of the queens who I follow online, her name was Dixie Lee Cartwright, changed her name to Darby. As soon as when the Black Lives Matter protests started, when the George Floyd thing happened, especially around Chicago, there was this, and I'm sure it happened in other cities, but this is the one I read the most. I know it happened in New York as well. The Black Council, which was the Chicago Black Council, was queer, and they were like going to the different clubs going, yeah, you don't get to tell us anymore when we can perform, what we can be a part of, what no. Because there are certain clubs specifically in Chicago and queens who ran the shows who would be like, okay, so on Friday night we'll have, soul music night or Motown or whatever, and you're black, so you can do Beyonce or you can do whatever. And it was like, well, what if I fucking want to do Celine Dion? I should be able to do whatever I want. Like all the other queens, all the white queens get to do what they want.
Yeah.
You're not telling the white queens, well, you can only do white music. And so part of that was going specifically to these different club owners and different club show hosts. And Darby was one of the hosts. And when they said to her, your very name is offensive and here's why. And she was like, oh, no, I didn't know. And she immediately changed it.
I love that.
She also cut ties with the bar that she worked with for many, many years, and now doesn't even refer to them by their actual name. On her show, she calls them Bar Redacted.
Bar Redacted.
Because it's like they didn't want to do all the things they should do to get up with the times.
Yeah.
So, good job, PepsiCo, for finally pulling your head out of your ass. And the bigger thing for me, I think, maybe not the bigger thing, but I think the more surprising thing is that they actually admitted that yes, this was deeply rooted in racism and stereotypes and problematic. So kudos.
Kudos, bitch.
But they're not the only one. Uncle Ben's Rice is another one that needs to change, because Uncle Ben is a servant. And if you look at his full picture, not his just little image up in his face, he's wearing like butler kind of attire. So that also needs to, and I don't know if it has, but it was another one that was like, this is also problematic.
Yeah.
So whatever.
Kudos.
But, as we're in this time of celebration and whatever in the holidays, food just seemed like a really appropriate topic.
Yeah.
Because, well, I'm a big fan of food.
Same, girl. Same. I don't have very many food issues. People are like, I don't like this or that. I'm not that picky. My food issues all come with texture.
See, but... one of the things about you, which I have always found cuckoo crazy ever since you were a little tiny child, was that you don't like ice cream, and that you don't like cake.
I know.
And I'm like, who doesn't like cake?
Me. Well, again, I talked about this last night. I said, I don't like cake, but if you go to the bakery, cake is great. If you make homemade cake, I will have it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not my go-to. If people are like, what dessert is your dream dessert? I will never say cake. Never. And there are specific cakes that I love. German chocolate cake, I can eat the fuck out of that. And it's not that I hate cake. It's just not my go-to.
Right.
And, like, most birthday cake to me, I would rather eat nothing. I'd rather starve to death.
Wow, starve to death. Mm-hmm. That seems really dramatic.
And ice cream, it has to be... I have to be feeling some type of way. And here's how I want it. I either want, like, a little small milkshake, or I want an ice cream cone, but I want very little ice cream in the cone. So basically,
mostly cone.
Yeah. And I like, like, cheesecake ice cream where there's like chunks of cheesecake, which I love that shit. Like, I like that. I like things like, and strawberry ice cream with chunks of strawberry. I'm into it. But like, very little. I don't, and not most of the time. Maybe twice a year, but I'm not going to go buy a fuck ton of ice cream cones to have like one little scoop of ice cream, so.
When I was volunteering at the elementary school, for some reason one year, Salt and Straw.
Oh.
Which, if you don't know what Salt and Straw is, I don't know if they have them wherever you live if you're not here, is a fancy ice cream company where they have all these kooky flavors.
Well, they have like olive oil. They have like lavender. They have
blue cheese.
Yep, yeah. It's weird.
It's like pear and blue cheese. Mm-hmm. They donated, I don't even remember how many gallons of ice cream to the school to have like just a fun thing for the kids. Mm-hmm. Well, it would be a fun thing for the kids if there were flavors that they were all like excited about. Kids don't want to have pear and blue cheese ice cream.
No.
And as we're dishing them up, I'm like, no kid is going to eat this ice cream. Let's not dish up a bunch of this one.
Yeah.
Because we were dishing up a bunch, an ice cream you can only dish up like a couple minutes because it's going to be soup.
Yeah.
And then, but as the kids were coming in, we also didn't want them to have to stand in long lines. Unfortunately, the table where I was one of the weird flavors, which I thought kids would be all over. Mm. It was peanut butter and jelly.
Oh.
And I'm all, what kid doesn't want peanut butter and jelly? But the idea, apparently, of peanut butter and jelly ice cream
is gross.
Put them off.
Weird, okay.
And I'm all, well, that's all right. I dished it up. I got to have to eat it
because,
it's going to be soup here in a minute. And I'm just trying to help out.
Yeah, I'm a good
Christian. Your girl's just trying to help.
Yeah, a good Christian
whatever.
Girl.
But I've never actually been to Salt and Straw because I, A, don't want to stand in line for my food, and B, I don't want to pay $42 for an ice cream cone or whatever it costs. I know it's not really that much, but it's like $8 for an ice cream cone.
When I worked
I could buy a 5-gallon bucket of ice cream.
Beesh. When I worked on Northwest 23rd, there's a Salt and Straw that wasn't far from my store, and all the fucking time there was a line, and I was like, I'm just like trying to get to the bank. Could you get the fuck out of my way?
Right. Well, I feel the same way about Voodoo Donuts.
Yeah.
Voodoo Donuts, also local. I don't know if it's anywhere else, but I know that the downtown location...
Denver, Austin maybe, Eugene.
Okay.
Something.
I know that the downtown location always has a line out the door down the road, and I'm all, I can just go right over here to the one right off Sandy and walk right in.
And who cares?
And they're just... like Krispy Kreme, in my opinion, they're just a donut.
They're just donuts.
Now,
they're
that being said, Voodoo Donuts has at least a variety where Krispy Kreme has basically the one donut that everybody's all cuckoo crazy about.
Which I'm like, it's
just
donut.
a goddamn donut.
And I like it when it's warm and fresh, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But also Voodoo...
Off the assembly line, off the little bakery, whatever you call that, it's not an assembly line, but when they come out the line and they're actually hot.
Into it.
Yes.
Yep.
Because remember there was that day that you and I ate a few too many and we were both sick and we were like, never again!
What do you mean? I don't know what you're talking about. But also,
that's right. That never happened.
Right. Voodoo Donuts also has gone through some shit because it was like unfair working practices or unfair wages or something was happening, and people protested for a while, which isn't shocking because welcome to Portland. But Voodoo Donuts is fine. The best thing I ever got from Voodoo Donuts was when the coffin that they built to put all the voodoos in, all the donuts in. So I still have that, but it's all just like basic.
And first of all, who at their wedding, instead of having a wedding cake, has a coffin delivered full of donuts? You. I love that.
Yeah, girl.
I love that.
Why not? Why not?
It was like a baker's dozen of dozens, right? Wasn't it 13 dozen? 13 dozen donuts.
I don't know. There was a lot. Who knows?
There was a lot of
fucking donuts.
I know. And I don't even think there was enough people there to eat all that. Were there a lot left over?
Yeah.
Did you take home like 400 donuts?
Yeah, girl. I just kept them in the coffin and I said, let go. Mm-hmm. And I like it because it's an actual, like...
They're not still in there, are they?
No. It's an actual, like, handmade wooden coffin in the, like a coffin shape, and it has a cross on it on the front. I have undid the cross and turned it upside down, so now it's more fitting for my home.
So for those of you who don't know the difference between a casket and a coffin, a casket is what you will now see at funerals, where they are just rectangular.
Yeah.
Whereas the coffin is the shape where it's supposed to more kind of be reflective of the shape of a body, where it's wide at the shoulders
Allegedly.
and narrows back down at the
Yeah.
ankles.
Mm-hmm.
But it's that shape that you see in older movies and stuff.
I love it.
That's a coffin.
Mm-hmm.
Casket is just
Long,
rectangle. A very expensive box.
Yeah. I prefer caskets. No,
So-
I prefer coffins. Casket? Coffin. I don't know.
So you said you don't have many food. What is a food you really just hate? You wouldn't eat if you had to?
Okay.
Because I have my list, and it's like a short list, but it's things that
So-
you can't pay me to eat.
So, licorice, obviously. I hate... I know you probably have never had it because you don't like seafood. And someone asked me the other day if I like seafood. And I'm like, meh, sometimes. But like scallops. It's weird, bouncy.
It's an eraser.
It's an eraser, honestly.
It's an eraser dipped in butter and seasoning.
Yes. And one year, we went to Edgefield.
Oh,
We stayed
yeah.
the night for my birthday, and then we went to like the Black Rabbit, which is a nice restaurant in there. And I was like, oh, because I don't think I'd ever had them, obviously. So, and they were like bacon wrapped scallops, and I was like, ooh, delicious. And then I was all, what the fuck is this? I was like, I can't eat this. Can someone just bring me some like Cajun tater tots? Because I fucking hate this. This is disgusting. Yeah, that is like a food I do not like. I'm trying to think.
I think what's funny to me is I've said before how I didn't like lobster or any of those kind of things. I didn't care for that either. And I was like, when I tried it, and people were like, oh, it just didn't have it cooked right. I had it cooked in a very, very fancy restaurant.
Yeah.
And if they don't know how to cook it right, then there is no right way to cook it.
Mm-hmm.
Because, no, lobster to me is bland.
Yep.
And it's like, the only thing about lobster is the garlic butter you're dipping it in. And I'll just drink the garlic butter.
Yeah, girl. Here's what I love.
Give me some bread, and I will dip it directly in the garlic butter.
Yep.
I will eat it all damn day. Because,
day.
quite frankly,
All day.
toast for me is a vehicle in which to eat butter.
Oh, God. Yes, ma'am.
I know it's gross, but if it's dripping in butter, that's perfect.
Yep. I don't like lobster either. I don't like most water food. But
Right. If it swims, I probably am
I
not
don't
gonna
really
eat
want it. But I love lobster bisque, girl. I could eat the fuck. And because it's like...
That's how I feel about really good clam chowder.
Well, I mean, and they're very similar, to be honest, because the flavor is so good. Kills me. Other foods I don't really like. Look, potatoes, it's not that I don't like them. They're not my favorite food. Like, I don't really like...
Who are you?
I know, right?
I've never met a potato I didn't like.
Well, and sometimes...
Because tater tots,
boring.
French fries, baked potatoes,
Same.
mashed potatoes, I'm going to eat the fuck up out of them.
Mashed potatoes all the time have to be done, right? Not a fan.
Oh, yeah, they have to be cooked properly.
Because I don't like just any mashed potato. I don't like just a baked potato.
That's because you're spoiled. Because you grew up having the heart attack mashed potatoes that have all the things in them.
Wait a minute, I'm going to stop you right there, bitch.
Wow!
My sperm donor used to make mashed potatoes from a fucking box.
Okay,
and
that's
that, to me, ruined my life. And so now I'm dead. But I do like when I was younger and you used to make mashed potatoes that had 18 pounds of cheese and cheese and butter and seasoning and more cheese and butter.
But you brought cheese.
Right, and there was a little bit of cheese. I could have died because it was a lot of cheese.
All right,
but also,
so
I
this
could have
is
died
how
happy.
I made those mashed potatoes. Because it was lots of potatoes because
Yes.
big family, right? Because
Yeah.
we would take them out to holiday things. Lots of potatoes, and then mix them with cheddar cheese, cream cheese, sour cream, and a lot of butter,
Yep.
and a lot of garlic.
Yeah, oof, girl.
Salt, pepper, of course, but those were the things. And you get that all whipped together, put it in a big old baking pan, put it in the refrigerator, and then the next day, top the entire thing with shredded cheese.
Yes, ma'am.
And then bake it.
Yes. Oh my god.
And
oh my god.
if you lived through it and didn't have a heart attack,
Girl.
you were sitting there
Yes.
just like licking your chops and whatever.
Girl,
Now that's a mashed potato.
that to me is a mashed potato, honey. If anything is a mashed potato, bitch, it's that. Oh, another thing I don't like. This is an ick for me.
Oh.
I'm just gonna tell you all the things I don't like.
Okay.
About it. As I get older, I don't like chunks of meat at all. And I don't want to, my little ADHD brain, if I'm chewing something too long, I no longer like it. If it's too long, it's too chewy, I get over it. And like...
That's how I felt the only time I had squid.
Okay.
It was like too chewy.
Too chewy, too long. And so like steak, right? Steak is good. People are like, oh, you don't like steak. I'm like, no, steak is fine. But I don't want a fucking piece of steak. Like, that to me is too much. Same thing with chicken, though. I don't want just like a piece of fucking chicken. I will eat like fried chicken. You know what I mean? I will. And I like chicken a lot, but I don't want a chunk of fucking
Popeye's chicken sandwich.
Yeah, girl. Or I'll just like break it up. The whole idea of having a chunk of meat in your mouth and chewing it for what feels like an hour
makes sense.
It's horrifying.
I get that.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Now, I wholeheartedly disagree with you on licorice. Because I'm one of those weird people I love.
I know, we talked about this in the Halloween episode.
But,
oh no.
The other day I had a licorice surprise, and I don't want to be surprised by licorice. Because the other day was my son's birthday, and so he had a piñata. A piñata, and I bought the piñata at a Mexican store, and bought a big bag of Mexican candy to fill it.
Hell yeah.
Because I'm like, let's get with the culture and do it right. And so one of the candies looked like this little jelly, what are those called? Like gumdrop. It looked like a gumdrop from my childhood. It was that kind of white, clear, sugar-coated. Yeah. And I'm all, oh, that's going to be, fill in the blank, whatever you think it's going to be. I assumed it would be just like some kind of innocuous flavor. It was black licorice. I put that in my mouth and I go, oh, I was not expecting black licorice. And I like black licorice. And I was like, but I don't want it to be...
How dare you?
I don't want to be tricked with black licorice.
You know what I would have been?
You'd spit it right out.
I would have been like, I'm gonna bite you, God! Like, I would have been mad.
Why are you trying to ruin my life?
I know, honestly.
Now, here are the things, and here are the biggest things, the top of my list that I fucking hate.
Okay, I'm ready.
And it's because I think they all taste like dirt.
Oh my God, I'm gonna agree with you on all of them.
Radishes?
Yep, spicy dirt.
Beets?
Sweet dirt.
Walnuts.
Dirt.
It's dirt of different... And what's funny is now when I watch baking shows and they'll talk about something having an earthy flavor, they mean it tastes like dirt.
Yep.
It's like, I don't want to eat anything that tastes like dirt.
No, and like, I'm the same way. Because we have talked about for years and years how radishes are spicy dirt and beets are sweet dirt. And people love them. And I don't get it. I genuinely do not get it because I think it's gross. And if I was a poor person again, and that was like all I had to eat, and I had like harvest my own food, sure. But
no,
I'm not. She's like, I would have just ate the dirt.
I would waste it. I'd be like, I'm on a water diet because all I have is radishes, and I ain't eating that shit. There's not enough. I don't think there's anything in the world you can cover it with to make it not taste like dirt. I'll just go out and eat some dirt, I guess, because it'll taste the same. Yeah. I might get more nutrients.
I might eat bugs first, to be honest.
See, I see these things where people go like out into the wilderness and they're like wilderness training is like whatever, or they're survivalists. And it's like, so they're eating whatever they can manage, like bugs or what. No.
I don't ever want to do that where I have to like whatever I can manage because I'm not going to manage a lot. Do you know what I mean? So I'm going
to go out into the wilderness if I have to go, if somebody's pushing. And I'm going to have so much like teriyaki sticks and beef jerky and my stuff that is like it'll last me forever. Or I'll eat it all the first day because I'm pretty sure I'm getting out of there, and then I'll be like, oh no, now I have nothing.
I ate 16 pounds of beef jerky. Also, we just go out and we're like, they hear crinkling under our clothes.
That's about right because I'd be like, I'm not eating that.
No.
I need whatever.
No, there's no way.
So one of the things that has been my lifelong kind of addiction, cheese.
Oh, girl,
now, I'm going to tell you a funny story that I probably told you before.
Weird.
But I have always been, I love cheese. I don't care what kind of cheese it is. I like all kinds of cheese. Stinky cheese, all good. I like cheese.
Girl, give me all of it.
In fact, I was just telling the kids the other day that their uncle used to make this... cheese ball at Christmas, and it was blue cheese based, and he would at the end then roll it in nuts and then serve it with crackers. And I'm all, you can just serve it with a fork. Bitch. Because I'm I'm gonna eat it. But here's the funny thing. So even as a kid, I was like, cheese. We'd have cheese in the house, I'd want to eat it. I'm like a rat, I think. I'm not sure. And
that explains your face.
Right? And then my mother, in an effort to try and keep me from eating all of the cheese, which she was unsuccessful,
right?
Got some butcher paper from the butcher, wrapped the cheese in it and wrote liver on it so that I wouldn't. So I'd look at it and go, liver? Not eating that. By the way, that's also in the list of foods you can't make me eat because it's fucking disgusting.
Agreed.
Tastes like blood.
It
just tastes like blood. And it smells like blood when you cook it. Anyway, I knew that liver was not square. So
I want y'all to know she educated.
She was all, that is not the shape of liver. And so I, of course, opened it and I'm all, that's cheese.
Bitch, I'm obsessed with you. But this is the funniest thing. Because cheese, yes. My food pyramid is like, the base is cheese. Yeah. I love cheese. But growing up, I have always loved blue cheese. Blue cheese is one of my favorite. And if you know me, you know I'm a sauce girl. I like sauces with everything. I like dipping sauces. I like things to be wet. But blue cheese dressing, I remember as a kid having like pizza and salad and eating like blue cheese dressing with pizza.
Yeah.
Like, being, as a child, and most kids
which, by the way, is a very advanced palate for a child.
Right. Thank you so much. I was ahead of my time. But I loved it. Loved it. But yeah, any cheese, girl. You can give me any cheese and I'd be all, Dinkerson.
Right.
Thank you so much.
More cheese, please.
I know.
Honestly. Don't get me near a cheese plate.
And you want to know what? Charcuterie is one of my favorite fucking things. Right. And
the charcuterie board.
The charcuterie board. I say often that I'm more into savory. I want savory over sweet any day. So if someone's like, do you want cake? Do you want candy? Do you want anything sweet? Versus, do you want cheese and crackers? Bitch, I'm going with chips or cheese and crackers.
Yeah. Listen, I on the other hand, I love cake.
Sure.
I will eat probably any kind of cake. But if you said to me, we have cake and we have a charcuterie board, you can only have one of them. There's not a contest.
No.
I'm going for the cheese and crackers and the meat and the whatever. Yeah, yeah.
I'm about that.
I have to ask you, have you, since I know you TikTok, have you seen the TikToks where it's, as a rule, I've noticed that it's black folks saying, do this little song of, you can't eat at everybody's house. And then they'll show this crazy shit that white people are making. I saw one today. And by the way, you can't eat at everybody's house.
You shouldn't.
Well, first of all, there's that hygienic thing of there are just some people who don't keep a clean house. But, yeah, and if you've seen their cats walking across the counter, don't eat at their house. But this meal, I don't know, I'm not even sure what it was because it was this man commenting on this white person making this, I don't know what. Because it started with marshmallow fluff. And unless it was Rice Krispie treats, that should be the end of it. But they took this glob of marshmallow fluff, put it in the microwave, and then got it out of the microwave, poured it in a bowl, and then added mayonnaise to it.
I want to vomit.
Well, I'm out.
I love mayo.
Yes,
that's
but not with marshmallows. And then
they
added, what did they add next? I'm trying to remember, but then there was a little cornstarch and something else. And then canned beans.
I'm dead.
And then they baked it.
Nope.
And I'm all, ooh.
Why?
I don't know what in white hell this is, but white people, knock it off.
No, listen, in that same thing, you can't eat at everyone's house. When I saw it, it was someone being like, yeah, this is totally dishwasher safe, and taking the seat off their toilet and putting it in their dishwasher.
Oh!
And somebody said, you can't eat at everybody's house.
You can't eat at everybody's house.
No.
Well, another one I saw was this woman. You know how I'm sure you've seen where people do like a lobster feed, where they'll take the bucket and like just kind of dump it out on the table, and everybody grabs their lobster, wears their bibs, whatever.
Fucking hate it.
This was, I think, kind of the same idea, but had gone horribly awry. This woman put something over her table, obviously, I'm guessing, I'm hoping, but then poured a big vat of macaroni on her table, and then covered it with melted cheese. And then is standing there with her hands mixing it all together and leaving it on the table for people to come dish up their food and eat. And I'm all, no.
I hate it here.
No.
Just in case you were wondering.
Listen, white people, knock it off.
White people make me uncomfortable.
I was like, stop being stupid.
I'm like, hello, police. I'm a white woman, but these other white women.
These other white people.
They popping the fuck off.
And I'm sorry, but anytime you put any kind of meat or vegetable in Jell-O, You should be arrested.
We're gonna behead you, girl. We're gonna take it right off at the fucking shoulders because how dare you?
Because apparently somewhere in that brain of yours, you thought that was a good idea.
Don't you think the world would be a better place if the people who ate and made that stuff were just beheaded? We wouldn't be where we are today.
There's a guy on YouTube. His name is Ja'a.
Ja'a. His name is Ja'a.
I'm trying to think what. Oh my god, I just blanked on his name. I love following him. He does all these cooking things where he'll get recipes from anywhere, like the Depression or whatever. But a lot of them come from women's magazines and old books and things.
He's a white boy.
Yes.
He's so cute.
His last name's Hollis. I'm blanking on his first name.
He's a cute white boy with the cute blonde hair. Yeah. He's like kind of loud and kind of like aggressive.
Kind of fanatic. Also queer.
I love him. I love him.
Anyway, he will do these things and then put them together and then usually be like, if they're terrible, there's just the look on his face. It's just like, and he then dumps it into the garbage. But he's like, why would anybody do these things? But I love that he makes them not knowing if it'll be good or bad. And sometimes the ones he's like, why would this even be a thing? He'll then eat it and go, this shouldn't be good.
Yeah, right. I know. I got that. I love that.
Yeah, he is but he's also adorable.
And I just love the way he talks. He's like neurotic.
Yeah,
I'm about it.
Yeah. You know what? That brings us to the end of our time. And I didn't even get to talk about my other favorite thing, which is biscuits and gravy.
Bitch, we're going to have another food episode.
Okay.
We literally talked about what we didn't like.
Right, we didn't even talk about other than cheese.
Yeah.
Cheese and charcuterie.
We didn't talk about like fast food or holiday food. We didn't talk about any of that.
So let's go get a charcuterie board.
And then next week, with our charcuterie board, we'll talk about...
We'll have a mukbang.
Yeah. We'll try not to keep First of all, try not to have like heavy news, but like, I'm sorry the world sucks. Also, maybe we'll just try and jump right into the topic this time.
What?
But maybe next week we'll just do food part 2.
All right.
Let's do that. It's still the holidays.
Yes. For a few more weeks, yeah.
Exactly.
All right.
Well, it's been fun.
It has been fun, and thank you for joining us. And if you have any comments, and if there's anything specifically you want us to talk about when we talk about more food stuff, just drop us a line at itwouldseemasthough at gmail.com. And we'll read your shit. We might read you. Depends.
For Phil. Instead of teaching you hoes, I should have been reading a hoe. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, I don't know what you mean because I've never read anyone because I'm so sweet. But...
Ma'am. Police? She's lying.
I'm thankful for being able to read people. And
the house down boots, bitch, for
hating
Phil.
enough people. Although I did see somebody yesterday, I love this, who was talking about how she... reading is like her love language.
Hell yeah.
Which we've said many times. She goes, if I'm nice to you, I don't like you.
I don't like you.
I don't like you.
And I always say if I'm nice to you, I don't know you or I don't like you.
Right.
But our love language, gently bullying each other.
Sometimes not that gentle.
Well, we like it. We like it.
But we're going to dip out of here now because, we got other shit to do.
Yeah, bitch.
But we won't see you. We'll talk to you all next week. And tomorrow... we'll be eating all of the things that we'll probably talk to you about next week.
Hell yeah.
So yeah.
All right.
Peace out, Girl Scouts.
Make good choices. Be thankful. Don't be a colonizer. Support Indigenous people. That's all. Bye.
Bye.
It would seem as though...